to you. Um, Welcome to Python class. We'll be dealing with Python. We'll be programming in Python, and this particular programming language is for those that wants to specialize in backend and those that want to specialize in some other, say, full stack development using Django and all of that framework for Python. And of course, for those that will be doing data science, Python 2 is going to be used, but you're going to be starting out with statistics, so it's not yet time for them to have Python classes. But for those that will be doing web development, that is the backend development, and for those that will be doing full stack development and are planning to use Django framework, we'll be starting out with Python. Now, prior to now, I believe most of you will have this uh, pedestrian knowledge that Python is strictly a snake or a very big snake. But here, it is not a snake; it is a programming language. So we're gonna be dealing with introduction to Python and its features. We're going to be talking about how to install Python on our different platforms. We are going to be interacting with Python through our command line mode, which is the IDE, Integrated Development Environment. That is, it's just like a place where we code our programs. I've discussed it in the front end class, the HTML class, but it is pertinent for you to also know what the meaning of IDE is. It is an acronym for Integrated Development Environment. It is used to prettify, to use to code our language. It is used to write our code. It's just like a notebook for programmers to write their code. Then we're going to be understanding the data types, basic elements in Python, um, knowing how to write comments and continuation lines and printing messages on our console. I mean, to bring results in our console. So, if you have been asked a question that maybe by chance you've been asked, what do you understand by the word Python? I want to believe you won't be telling them or you won't be defining some sort of snake to them. I believe you should have known that Python is a programming language, and if you are not knowing, I'm telling you it's a programming language. But when you're being asked, when you are faced with the question of what is Python? Sorry, I would how would you react? What would you tell them? What would be running in your mind? Anyways, Python is a programming language. Is one of the biggest programming language, one of the most popular programming language. Programming languages rather. Python is a very powerful, high-level, dynamic object. Before I define it, let's just go into Google and search for what Python is. The definition of Python. Let's go to google.com. As programmers, you'll be making use of search engines to there are some stuff that you might have forgotten or you may forget. We make use of search engines, we make use of community to remind us of so many things because we have a lot of things to we have a lot of things that is running through our mind. We have a lot of activities to to uncover. We have a lot of stuff to do, so we tend to forget. We tend to get forget certain things. So it is pertinent that you come to Visual Studio Code to find information. Sorry, it is pertinent to come to your community or your Google search engines to find out about informations as regards whatsoever might be uh, bothering you or whatsoever you might have forgotten. Let's type what Python is. Let's look for the word Python or Python as a programming language. Yes, what is Python as a programming language? It says Python is a computer programming language. often used to build websites and softwares, automate tasks, and conduct data analysis. Python is a general purpose language, meaning it can be used to create variety of different programs and isn't specialized for any specific problem. Now, that is a definition that is given by one of um, one of the one of the should I say institute Coursera. Um, Python is a very powerful language, high level language, dynamic object oriented programming language. It was founded by this man. Let me say who founded Python. Who founded Python? It was founded by a man called Guido van Rossum in 1991. Okay, yeah, it's Guido van Rossum in the year 1991. It is implemented in C. Guido was a C programmer, and Python relies on the extensive portable C libraries. It's a cross-platform language uh, and runs on all major hardware platforms and operating systems, including Windows, Linux, um, and Macintosh. I would want you to understand that Linux and Macintosh, which is the Mac OS, they they both run on Unix command. So you won't get they have similar, almost similar, uh, similar commands. So Python has an easy to use syntax and it's quite easy to learn, making it suitable for those who are still learning to program. It is easy to learn. You can easily learn Python. Python has a rich set of supporting libraries, and many third-party modules are very available for it. Python is a programming language uh, that also supports scripting, making it possible for rapid application development. And another good thing about Python is that it comes with a powerful and easy to use graphical user interface (GUI) toolkit that makes the task of developing GUI applications in Python quite easy. It is freely available. Python is an open source language. It is free and open source. You don't have to pay to have Python installed on your machine. Um, Python currently has three implementations known as CPython, which is, like I said, ab initio, it is implemented in C, like CPython, like Jython, that is running Python code on Java machine, just JVM, and IronTon, which is uh, IronTon is that is which is Iron Python, is a Python implementation for the Microsoft commonly used. Let me type it out so that we can have a wrapped understanding of what I'm talking about. Uh, I said um, implementation of Python is as follows. We have CPython, we have CPython, we have CPython, which is a standard Python software implementation or a default Python interpreter. The main purpose of CPython is to execute programming language Python. CPython has a great compatibility with various Python packages, and it is, of course, is the fastest, most up to date, and complete implementation of Python. Uh, like I said, and I'm repeating it, it is implemented in C. Its libraries and modules are all coded in standard C, which is a C language. It is cross platform and runs on almost all platforms. You would agree with me on that. Then another implementation is Jython. Okay, Jython is a situation where you can run Python on the JVM. Okay, the Jython project provides implementation of Python in Java, providing to Python the benefit of running on JVM and access to classes written in Java. Uh, it, JVM is Java Virtual Machines anyway. So Jython is a Python implementation that is JVM compliant. So with Jython, we can also use um, all Java libraries and frameworks. Another one, third implementation is Iron Python. Iron Python. Okay. Let's see what the definition is here. Iron Python is an implementation of Python programming languages targeting the net frameworks and mono. Jim Hagwin created the project and actively blah 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 blah. You can look for that in your own free time. So what he's saying is that Iron Python is a Python implementation for the Microsoft Design Common Language Runtime (CLR), popularly known as .NET. .NET is the framework for C Sharp, and with Iron Python, you can use all the CLR libraries and frameworks. So, that being said, let's dive deeper into features of Python. Let's say, let's type it out. Features of Python. Features of Python. Okay. Features of Python includes easy to learn and readable language. Like I said before, Python is extremely easy to learn, nothing to be scared of. It's an interpreted language. It's dynamically typed. It's open source and free. It has large standard library, high level language, object oriented programming language, large community support, you know, uh, and that. So features of Python, as I said, as mentioned earlier, Python in the definition, I say Python is a scripting language that includes the vast library of add-ons modules. You know, it supports integration of pre-built components from creating complex applications. You know, Python has full access to operating system services. You know, let me give a run through on the key features that are highlighted there. They say it is the first one say it is easy to learn and readable language. According to them, Python is extremely easy to learn, which I would agree with. Programmers familiar with traditional languages, we find all the familiar constructs such as loops, conditional statements, arrays, and so on uh, to be, they will be familiar with such constructs. And another thing is it has easier to read syntax, and that's one of the easy to learn and readable language features that it has. Or I mean, they showcased here. It avoids the use of unnecessary punctuation characters like uh, curly braces, dollar sign, forward slash, backslash, and stuff like that. And it uses white space to indent line of blocking code. That is, they didn't add it here, but it uses white space. Whenever you hear the word white space in programming, it's just simply space. It's just like saying space. But in programming, it's a kind of programming lingo that we often use to depict space. So, white space is what is used to depict space in programming. So, it is used in Python. White space is used to indent line of code. That is when you are defining your blocks of code instead of using the brackets, the curly braces, the bracket like other languages like such as JavaScript. You know, and another thing is Python is free and Python is open source and free. Yes, it is free indeed. You can download Python and install any version of Python and use it to develop software for commercial or personal applications without paying a penny. Python is developed under the open source model. You can copy Python, modify it, and even resell it. Yes. Uh, by open source, what I mean, whenever you hear open source, the term is commonly used in the tech world. Open source simply means it is free, it is open. When something is closed source, it means it is paid. But this one is open source, it is free and free and free indeed. Another thing we're going to be looking at as one of the features of Python is that it comes with a large number of libraries included. Like I said before, I've mentioned that before, and there are many more that you can download and install. Python can be integrated with other languages. Python is so robust and dynamic that it can work with any other languages. You think of any language like C, C++, and Java, and what have you, and what have you. That is, the component written in these languages can be embedded with Python programs. thus making it easier to develop complex solutions. Another thing they say here is which I jumped. Sorry for that. Is Python is an interpreted language? Yes, it is an interpreted language because it supports a complete debugging and diagnostics environment, making the job of fixing mistakes uh, much faster. Also, the software development is quite rapid and flexible. It is interpreted uh, in that you don't have to compile your code, before in some other languages like Java, you have to compile codes before it can be run and be, I mean, the output be visible on the console. But Python has a backend functionalities that interprets the code so that the computer can understand what you're typing. You know, Python is what they beat. You know, Python is a good choice for web development. Networking, games, data processing, and business applications. Think of it. You know, another thing you should that is not seen here, that I'm not seeing here. Another thing that I'm not seeing here. Okay, well, if we click on these small items, it will say something about it. Is that Python has efficient memory management. It uses something called uh, garbage collections. Let me write it here. Garbage collections. Yes, garbage collections in Python. The garbage collector is keeping track of all objects in memory. A new object starts its life in the first generation of the garbage collector. If Python executes a garbage collection process on a generation and an object survives, it moves up into a second older generation. What they are trying to depict there is that Python use garbage collection, so you don't have to worry about memory leaks. You know, the Python runtime environment handles garbage collection of all Python objects. Each object has a kind of reference counter to make sure that no live objects are removed. Only the object with reference counter, whose value equal to zero, is garbage collected. Um, let me put them in a more simpler terms. It says, okay, while you're working, while you are um, uh, putting some data in a variable, some variable might not be used and be useless. Instead of the variable to be occupying space, it is garbage collected. Python has a way of uh, efficiently managing the memory. Then another thing is Python support exception handling. That is, errors are raised as exception, so you don't you can take you can so that you can take corrective measures. Python signals almost all errors with an exception. So, however, you cannot take advantage of Python's features unless you install it and of course, begin to use it. So, you can still find some wordy definition of Python. And in our next phase, I should be teaching you or um, you know uh, teaching you on how to install Python, but I will make it a third phase or the fourth phase because I you can run your program in an IDE, that is in an integrated environment, development environment, without having Python installed. You know, but along the line, I will install Python on our machine. I have it installed, so I don't have to install it. I will just give you a run through on how to install it. Of course, you can also run Python online. You can go to a website, for the sake of those that are using mobile device, you can go to a site called replete.com. Replete is a very good site to run your code online. You can just go, it's as good as just registering, it's free, you know, it's free. And of course, there are some Android apps that run Python code, of course, and there are some, of course, iOS app that also runs Python code. I dropped that in a group for everybody um, to see. That being said, in our next video, we're gonna be diving deep into um, programming in Python and explaining some key concepts in Python. Thank you very much for listening.